And Barnzy Show, brought to you by BowlersMart.com, trusted by bowlers around the world since 2004. By Lightning Strikes Bowl, home of Bowlers Mart Pro Shop. By Platinum Ford, drive the difference. By Fire Lake Bowling Center, 24 state-of-the-art lanes. By True Grit Coatings, drive on our passion. By Roll to Grip, king of them all. By 900 Global, striking worldwide.
Good morning and welcome back to the Beef and Barnzy Show. And as usual, I'm Chris Barnes, joined by the unimitable. I think that's my new catchphrase for you. The inimitable beef stew. You are. It's a different way of saying one of a kind. Unique.
Yeah.
Fantastic personality. Winner of hearts and minds everywhere.
Yeah.
Especially wearing those colors.
Go
Chiefs.
Yep, Chiefs were pretty good this weekend.
Yeah, a lot better than they looked against the Bills.
Yeah. It was
got through the tough part of their schedule with Buffalo and San Francisco back-to-back and 1-1. And we have some work being done here in the house, so the dogs are in here with me. This could be a very interesting morning.
So I just want to vent about the worst sports weekend ever for me. Got up early, Liverpool got beat.
Oh.
Then watched the Longhorns get beat. They weren't very good, but at the same time, I just don't understand how you can have 14 penalties to 0, but moving on. And then I waited all weekend to watch the Patriots play like assholes. So good weekend all round.
Hey, yay.
Yay sports. Yeah. And then on top of that, you know, I'm always going to have a little bit of affection for Tom Brady. He scored 3 too. I mean, the only good part of the whole weekend was, well, the Packers got beat.
Yeah. And I'm sure a lot of people who are a long time, basically just hate people that win. They're probably pretty pleased with the Patriots situation and Tampa Bay situation right now.
Yeah, probably.
But it's an odd time in the NFL. It seems like all the guys who never lose are losing the teams that never beat them. And it's kind of crazy. Crazy.
I mean, the only good thing about Tom Brady sucking is the media isn't saying, well, Bill Belichick can't win without Tom Brady, because Tom Brady can't win at all anyway.
There's that. There is that. So, I know. English is hard. Words are difficult. That's why we let Stu do most of the talking. It's more entertaining anyway that way. Yeah, there's an Okie.
To be honest, though, as a Longhorns fan, do we really care we lost to Oklahoma State? Not really. I mean, it sucks. You always want to win, but they won the game that really matters.
Yeah. In the end.
And so you bowled this weekend. I did not. So let's have a chat about that. You kind of break down what went on, what the format was and everything. I'll quickly have a look at a regional wrap up.
The Monster 180 here in the Dallas area brings some pretty big names from across the country, actually. The deal is it's a 4-member team. 3 of the guys have to add up to 180 years old, and then you get a monster. So any young player, anybody you want, basically. The team that won was Dino, Walter Ray, and Ben Hose were the 180 portion of the event, and Maldonado was their monster. They were the 3rd or 4th seed after the 6 games of qualifying. Interesting format. You go across, you bowl 6 games, left moves left, right moves right. So you bowl 6 different teams, 10 pins for each individual win and 60 for the team win. I bowled with Rick Minear, who's been good since wooden bowling balls were going down the lane, it seems, and Phil Kepner, sneaky good, and then our monster was Anthony Lavery. And so, despite the swag tax, we still went for a fair amount in the in the Calcutta, the butterfly convention part, and I had to finish in the top 2 to make money on that side. But we were the top seed, got to pick our opponent and our pair, which was a new wrinkle this year. No buys for being a top seed, which I wasn't a super fan of, but we bowled 3 left-handers the first round, and somehow that worked out okay. And then we got to stay on the same pair after that. Bowled Couch. We ended up picking the number 2 seed. We picked Jim Stevens, Couch, CJ, and Doc Doherty was our second opponent. There was no good picks, but that's where we ended up. We bowled 1,000 for our 4 there and beat them, and then the last match came down to the very last shot. Actually, if Lavery strikes, Maldi has to strike to win. So,
that's cool. Like,
yeah, super close.
The scores were insanely high.
They were very good. Yes.
Not to somewhat shame you, but you were 29th in singles, and you bowled 1435. So
yeah,
that made sense. I think 40 people bowled 1400, something like that, and about 6 people bowled 1500 for 6 games. So, yeah, the object of hitting the pocket was not difficult.
No. The Plano outshot has a little more oil in the middle than it did. And so as you move left, the scores stay pretty good. But the one thing about having 3 old guys is that they don't break down nearly as much either. So they don't get nearly as chopped up. And
maybe not in the part of the lane that you bowl at Plano. The part of the lane I bowl at Plano still gets pretty chopped up.
Oh, no, I got caught the last game, actually. It's I had the front 6, and then it felt like tour, but that was the most rev rate that we bowled with. We had Maldonado, Dino, and then Walter was throwing quite a bit of surface too. And so it was high, move, roll, barely roll out to strike, move, high again, move again, and then finally struck on a fill ball, and it wanted to go high. So it was. Oof.
So all the rounds were full games in the in the matchups or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So what's that? I'm sorry.
No, you were all bowling like the finals format was just a full team game.
Full team games, yeah. It wasn't Baker like some of the Saspas are, and so
okay.
Yeah, it was an interesting deal. Another interesting wrinkle that as Plano took over running the tournament is Tyson decided that now seniors was 55. So
yeah, just making it up.
What's that?
Just making it up as he went along.
For sure. It was the most irritating when the reason was basically because Dino, Couch, and I shouldn't be able to bowl against other 50-year-olds. I tried to ask him, but he was in his feels by then, so he wasn't hearing any of it. But, so is the drop off bigger between 50 and 56 than 28 and 50? Asking for a friend / me. My tour results would tend to say maybe a little bit more before that, but yeah.
I just think it was just an arbitrarily strange number to pick.
Well, yeah, and then they still had a 55 to 65-year-old division.
To me, it would have made more sense for it to be 60 because it was 180, and that's a third.
Well, and that's exactly because I got to thinking about it after I asked on the sweeper, and I said, "Well, is there a reason?" And he got, "Oh, it's fair. Fair what?" So, yeah, he just decided that we weren't allowed to try and make money this weekend.
Yeah, like I say, there's Ruben, one of the coaches from Venezuela, has the best phrase in the world.
Ergosion, yeah.
And that is "fuck fair." because he goes, fair is always relative to the person. There is no such thing as fair.
Yeah.
Because he was really talking about picking teams, when you go away. Well,
yeah.
Well, is it fair to pick somebody who didn't play all of the qualifiers. Well, that's not fair. But is it also fair for the best players to go with people who aren't as good when there's better options available? That's not fair to them. Why should they have to go to a championships with a team that's not as good as it could be? It just goes back and, back and forth on it. So that's his FF.
This is an interesting. Who influenced your pre-drop hand position? Is that a team? I assume you mean the cup part.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I just always did that. I think it was. I developed that back in high school. I guess watching. I mean, I grew up in a town where Kelly Kaufman and Bob Benoit were the best bowlers, and I wanted to hook it. And probably when I was 12 and the best bowler was 16, I didn't know they only averaged 160, or 180 or whatever it was. But he hooked it more than everybody else, and he had his hand like that. So I probably started it then. There's no really good reason. It's kind of like Tommy's 10-degree thumb hole. It's really not supposed to be that way. But once it's not broken, you just don't fix it.
So we'll quickly head up to Memphis on our tour. Nightmare doubles. Sean Lavery and Michael Holloman won, which wasn't a huge shock to anybody, I don't think.
Defending champs.
They took him out. Ryan, I think that's what I think it was a bit of a typo.
Yeah, there you go.
I think Nico was talking about Ryan. Ryan got a little up in his feels on Instagram, posting a few of the videos of him getting 9.
I watched 15 frames of it.
Yeah.
And then posted Nico was watching, I guess. And so I actually posting his beef in Barnzy, but I said, it's a good thing that he doesn't have his father's temperament right now. Cause I dropped 2 F-bombs watching. I'm like, yeah, 15 frames. He didn't miss the pocket. The worst shot was he tripped the 4 out for the 9 pin and he had no doubles on the house shot. It's something that's happened to all of us. And I've done it plenty, but my rev rate's not 525 and I don't throw it 20 miles an hour. Yeah. It was a little rough to watch.
Yeah.
And then they still got to the cut number and Ted Pritz's team shot 530 the last game, 538 to clip them by 6. And so it was not his best performance. Tom bowled fantastic. Ryan got caught on the cliff a couple of different times. One of those places where the rare occasion where the two-handed advantage didn't seem to mean more strikes. Lavery was the one that bombed him. Actually, he was 400 something over for.
I read his post. I think that Holloman bowled really well on Sunday.
He might have. I didn't catch him on camera, but
from basically what he was saying, I think that Lavery bowled better. Neither of us qualify for the RPI because we were both inside the top 50. So.
Yes. And Sean Lavery may end up getting the best end of both worlds there. I'm not sure how that's going to work. He's 51st, but Norm's retired. So I may get to bowl the RPI and then end up being exempt also. I'm not sure how that's going to play out. It may end up being really good for him. For his sake, I hope so. Somebody asking if we've seen the my man Don coming off the top rope. Yeah. PBA champ brackets. Yep.
Been practicing those 4 pins.
I've forgotten about that.
Okay. Never, ever.
Did you guys see the exotic gem?
No.
I have not. I assume that's an overseas one. Probably is pretty.
No idea. I mean, there's been a couple of balls recently that I'm like, there's no way that's coming in about 2 weeks, about a week and a half later, there's been a ball on the doorstep. So
yeah,
I don't know. Like the last couple of balls, I'd not even heard of them and they arrived. So
yeah,
I don't know.
Interesting. Does adding reverse pitch to the fingers raise or lower rev rate? I know Mo always talked about reducing reverse pitch in the fingers to increase rev rate, but all the big rev guys seem to have a ton of reverse.
This is the ultimate. It depends.
Yeah, but all I can tell you, and all I can really confirm is I went from a quarter away to a half away, and it didn't seem to change my rev rate at all. I don't know that it went up any.
I went from 3 8ths away to 7/8 on one of my fingers. And when I want it to, my rev rate's higher now because my finger's mopped. Like, doesn't really bend. So by having more reverse, my finger now is more on the pad of the insert. Whereas before it was, if you imagine this finger's the front of the insert, it was like that. So I wasn't actually touching all of the insert. So now it's more like this. So my finger actually touches the whole of the insert. So it makes it a little easier to grab it.
And really the guys, they hook, they're flipping it off their hand this way. So touching the back of the hole sometimes would help create some rev rate, I guess. But I feel like it hasn't changed rev rate at all. If anything, it has allowed you to clear it all a little easier. Troy Lynn, if you know, huh?
Watch the semifinals one. It didn't look like anyone would miss. Shout out to my local OC legend, Doc. Yeah, he's been bowling really well.
He bowled great at the Monster 1A. He shot 800 the first three.
He also they won the Sasprit Cowtown.
Yeah.
Oh yes, yeah, they did. He bowled with Dimitri.
While we were bowling that match, Doc was one of the first guys to take a swing at bowling with me back in my college days.
Oh yeah,
I was a sophomore. I hadn't really done anything yet.
Man, I really didn't think he was that old.
Huh? He'd won the high roller twice by the time I was in college. So it was. He still had hair then. Well, I mean, he was wearing hair then. And man, he could bowl. We were talking about we bowled at Texarkana, place the roof is falling in that place. But he was the man, and I was just a guy nobody would bowl with because you didn't know high ceiling and low floor. Nobody knew what they were going to get. Oh yeah, the new PBA League Bowler Certification Tournament.
I was gonna say I'm gonna sit on the background here and hand you over to the PBA ambassador, Chris Barnes.
Yeah, I saw it at 3:00 when everybody else did, but went in front of the league. It's interesting. I haven't quite got my head all the way around it yet. But I think there's 5 divisions. There's a open, classic, scratch, whatever you want to call it, division. There's a couple of handicap divisions. There's a senior division. The singles in the open is $25,000 for first, and the others guaranteed 5. I believe one of the other handicap divisions, I think, is 10 is a guarantee.
So when you say the single, is that just the 3-game event?
Well, no, what it is 6 games. Now there's optional doubles and there's optional 4-member teams. You can sign up with anybody. We don't have to bowl at the same time. Your first 3 games will count towards that doubles. Your last 3 games count towards the team. But
and the 6 games is the same.
Yeah.
Right.
If I want to bowl in the front half, which I believe it's a June to mid-July tournament, if I bowl the first week and I know, hey, a bunch of guys are bowling later on, I can bowl with you, Simo, and Maldonado, who are bowling in July as my team, pay my entry, and then whenever you guys bowl, the scores add up. You don't have to enter also, which is interesting. So that's the part I can't quite get my head around how that's going to work. But
so if you enter a team, bowl like an asshole, and I get there, I'm like, I'm not bowling with him.
No, you can't bowl with anybody that's already bowled.
No.
But you'd have to sign up ahead of time. Yeah,
I'm on your team.
Yeah,
and you just said only you.
But you don't have to pay the entry fee. I have to get clarification on how it all works.
But that's what I'm saying.
You still get paid. Like, say, if we end up winning, you don't end up paying the entry fee. I'm not sure.
Oh, so you'd pay for a team.
I don't know if I pay for the whole team or just pay my part. Maybe you have to pay the whole team. Maybe everybody pays for a.
That's what I'm saying. That would be the only thing that would make sense. Because, but the other thing as well is if you get like some people, that's my point. If I don't have to pay before I get there, and you bowl bad.
Yeah.
And if you both pay for the whole team when you get there,
there's a prepay that's significantly cheaper before January 1 than after January 1. So I'm guessing presetting those entries is probably a pretty good idea. So, we still got to work our way through it. But
one quick shout out. We are, both of us are Bolero League bowlers. So we got our own entry window.
Yes, which is before January 1st.
Which might mean that there are no spots left for non-Bolero League bowlers.
In theory, that is possible. It is at Wauwatosa, which is a 80-lane center.
I'm not saying that it's likely. I'm
No.
just saying that there's a possibility that could happen.
They could do that. I will be putting together a video tomorrow with the help of my trusty cameraman, person, depending on what she's identifying as. I don't know how we do that nowadays. So
it depends what time of day it is. If it's at night, she's identifying as a headache.
You better hope she's not listening.
Oh dear.
We both have videos up on YouTube. Go check those out on the Beef and Barnzy show. That'll do a much better job than I can explain here because you can see it. But
I don't necessarily.
I'm a fan.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm a fan of this one.
I was about to say, I think this is a good ball to explain the differences. Like, me and Chris don't necessarily see this ball in exactly the same spot.
Nope.
But what I would do if I was you guys is, if you watch our videos, you're buying some balls. I mean, I hear people tell me all the time, "Hey, I watched your video on that ball. I went out and bought it. It's awesome." Whatever. If you see that, like, hey, Stu says this and Chris says this, but I see it more like Chris, then it makes sense for you that your role or whatever, or the way you see the lane probably matches up better to Chris's reviews. So that's why I think it's good for you to watch. There's a lot of videos out there. Like on Friday, there's going to be videos from us. There's going to be videos from Darren Tang. There's probably going to be a video from Brad. Luke Rosedale will have a video. Lewis Annapolis will have a video. Like, watch a bunch of them and like see which player you associate best with, and then it gives you a better idea. If you end up watching a video and like the infinite physics, 4 or 5 of us say the same thing, Ari, this ball's awesome, then you might be onto a winner. Like, so just like I say, figure out which player for you. And it might not be either me or Chris. Maybe you watch Luke's videos and but they're only out there to give you buying decisions.
Some of the best strategies, go back and watch videos of balls that you have and listen to them. And if what they say, you go, oh yeah, that's how I see it. And you see a couple others go, that's not it. Then you have some idea of who to follow. I've done that with shoes at different times over, I have a little bit of a funny foot of how they fit. And you find some guy that goes, hey, when he says these shoes fit great and they fit me great, then, but it kind of applies to ball balls as well. Yeah.
No, I'm just trying to give you the cheat code to trying to avoid those balls that you drill and you go, what the? Because you got to understand, we're not in the position that we can say this is terrible. Like, that's just not going to happen. Like, we're going to describe what it does. Maybe it's a niche ball, maybe it's not. Like, and it's not necessarily going to be terrible. I'm just saying that.
Yeah, I think we do an okay job of being honest about, hey, this one's on a. I mean, you just listen of it's a narrower window when this ball's going to be really good versus infinite physics, which seems like it's going to be a pretty wide.
I mean, a good example, right, is I don't particularly love the Supernova. It's not one of my favorites. I shot 597 for 2 with it, so it's clearly not bad. Clearly a useful ball. For me, it's just not a ball that I'm going to use very often because I feel like it fits in a really narrow window around balls that I like and I feel comfortable with.
Yep.
So that's just kind of how it is. Like, for that 3-game set the other week, or even 2-game set because she didn't get to the 3rd game. Yes, I quite like this one so far.
I actually drilled it, and it made the bag for the tournament this weekend. To give you some indication of what you might see coming up.
Easily, the best of the last few Belmo balls.
Yeah, and there will be a video on this Friday. Around Friday-ish, I guess, or
What
so.
we'll probably
I would
do-
agree. My early take is this is the best Belmo ball I've thrown. Not that that's a particularly high bar, but it's
Yeah.
it's the first.
Sorry, I just can't help but laugh. Anyway, speaking of ZU, when you guys drill urethane balls, you typically drill with shorter pins than reactives, and if so, how much shorter? Yes, about an inch.
Yeah, drill them an inch stronger, and then like this last one, if you're old school, it's like 4x6. So in the storm layout system, yeah, it's a 4-inch pin by 9 by about 3.
Okay.
I mean, the mass bias, which it doesn't have one, would be clearly on the other side of the track. And I think it's okay, but I want it to be smoother. I want it to be urethane-ish for sure. Yes, that's kind of what we try and do is types of players that it's good for, types of patterns it's good for. If I don't occasionally, I apologize. I do try and work that in all the time. If I don't specify, it's probably because I feel like it's going to be good for
Everything.
a lot of different types.
I try to liken it. I think the problem is low rev is relative. Because to me, a low rev player is like 300, but there are plenty of people who have way lower rev rates than that. So high rev, some people watch me and Chris bowl and say that we have really high rev rates.
Yeah.
And then long and medium patterns really depends on the track. So for me, I'll try, but for me, I try to compare it to an absolute. So for me, it's easier to compare it to the shape of a ball that already exists, if that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, I try and throw different balls myself. And when I'll talk about speed dominant or rev dominant, because that covers, and you are rev dominant if your biggest trouble is the ball hooks too much most of the time. You are speed dominant if your biggest issues, I need the ball to pick up. I struggle to get it to hook enough.
Yes.
That's basically, ultimately, it doesn't matter if your rev rate's 200 or 600. If that's your struggle, that's the category you're in.
Infinite physics. We'll keep going back to that one.
Yes.
Me and Chris are dead in the middle of the 4 people in our group.
Yeah.
We both really like it. Tina's the lowest rev rate. She likes it. Ryan's significantly higher than both of us. He likes it too.
Yeah. Larry Steppen, this is a guy I bowled in college with and throws it great. And he's right. Those niche balls, when they're the right ball, they can make you a ton. Like you say, that little window where you found it for league, for you, the Supernova, that's where it fits. Made you a lot of money. I used it in the hardest pattern at the Iron Man and made a little money over that weekend. That question you had there, no. The OG high road niche balls don't last 10 years in the marketplace.
It's basically coming up on 13 or 14.
Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, no other ball. Phase 2 and that are the opposite of niche balls. Those are the ones that a niche ball would be a gem. Something that's pretty early, hooks a little bit too much for a lot of house shots. I don't even know if that's even the right thing. It may be more of a like some of the hustles or urethane is a niche ball for unless you're left-handed.
I was about to say it doesn't seem that nichey these days.
No, it's gotten
by nichey. You mean every single
time we bowl. Yeah.
The only pattern it doesn't look good on is the one that everybody thinks it should look good on, which is wolf.
Yeah.
Yeah, the phase one was a little rough.
Yeah.
Phase two was pretty good though. Sounds good, Wayne. Good luck with it. We didn't get that one. Basically, Storm send us the ones that are on the higher end to review. We can get whatever we want, obviously. But neither me or Chris really use that many low end balls, and between the burners and the hustles in our own brand, it doesn't really make that much sense for us to use the Storm version, unless, like, if I go out next week and I bowl and like every person on earth is throwing an Electrify Go, then yeah, okay, sure, screw it, I'll order
one and try it, see if it's better than the Hustle Wine or Hustle USA or the Hustle
or the
Burner Pearl or the
and,
Burner Solid, and
so
yeah,
it's kind of like, to me, those balls, I don't really use them very often. So unless it's going to be unbelievable, like, I don't need to. I will say, though, it might be the first ball in a while that I haven't drilled.
Yeah, sorry if you were at work. That probably didn't work out too good for you right there.
Might have been worse if you were wearing headphones.
Oof.
See you later, Rick.
Rick's been a good tournament director for a long time, back around the Red River days and some of that. So, yeah, I mean, ultimately, that I know it doesn't, because everybody assumes rev dominant, you have to be Belmonte before you're rev dominant, and that's not true. It's just, if you're low speed, you can be very rev dominant.
Yeah, it's about being matched.
Yeah.
So, like, and matched is also relative to the lane conditions as well.
Sure.
Like, if you bowl in Phoenix, where the lane surfaces are a little newer and it tends to be a little more oil, you might be matched. But if you bowl in Houston, where everything hooks at your toe, you might end up being rev dominant. It's like, are you going to Tom Bowl this weekend?
I don't believe so. I haven't played anything, so I guess not.
So the SAS was at Tom Bowl. I've never been to Tom Bowl, but it's in the Houston area, so it's gonna hook like crazy.
Yeah,
because it's Houston and everything hooks in Houston.
Steve Sutherland, Supernova and Polish. I have not done a Supernova with Polish. I have a Nova with Polish and actually liked it. So
I think
Nova with Polish has been really good on the league shots.
Supernova with Polish was good for me. I like that NEX cover with Polish. There you go. See? Of course it does. It's in Houston. There isn't a center in Houston that doesn't hook.
Yeah.
They have a shitload of bowlers and they bowl a lot. So the lanes get beat up. Kind of is what it is.
Tips for team. Oh, sorry.
Do you hook or bowl straight and spares? Depends what we're bowling on, but generally we're going to throw it straight. If we're bowling on something really easy, I get lazy and I hook at the left-hand side spares because you almost can't miss them. So
yeah, I don't hook at 7 pins. I actually never hooked it. I would hook at the 1, 2, 3, 8, 9, 5, 8, 9 pins, but not anything outside of that. Now I'll hook at a 4 pin once in a while, but yeah, nobody. It's like the tournament never happened this weekend. I guess Lavery must be bowling somewhere else because I didn't even know about it. So, yeah, that and Lavery is my GM.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, let's see. Track from an inch next to the fingers and an inch from the thumb. Well, I don't know how you're laying it out now.
That's pretty similar to what I do. I think that if you want to see, as long as you can get a little bit of rotation, shorter pin buffers are quite useful. If you're really struggling to get any rotation, then you want to have longer pin buffers because the problem is if you go with the short pin buffer and you really up the back of it, it's going to have a really quick transition and go very forward, which isn't
It'll
very
go
useful.
longer. It will get to that spot easier, but the transition is really quick.
Yeah.
Tips for team trials. Yeah, that gets tough for sure. In recent times, urethane's been, having a good urethane ball is a big deal. It's pretty key. But the way that point system works, where you get points for where you finish and the lowest points advance, basically managing your bad games and keeping control of the pocket as your main goal versus trying to shoot monster scores ends up paying off way more. So you want to have some balls that allow you to keep control of the pocket, and really your general strategy is to way more stay and play that way than chasing just monster scores. Are hard, so you got to come up with a strategy of controlling things versus trying to win the sweeper. It doesn't work out that well. So let's see. Let's go through. Ashton, have to get in front of the ball return everywhere. Yeah, there's lane. Yes, topography and age of surface. Long patterns on old surfaces are actually quite easy. On new, they can be very difficult. So, how is it? It's like how lefties hook at every possible spare. That's because most of the time they're walled, and so they know it's going to hook all the time. But the real reason is because the left doesn't change nearly as much. The right could do the same thing, except the lane changes so much through the day that it's easier to guess wrong. So,
infinite physics, because that's our recommendation for everything. But
so he has a partner. He just decided not to ask me this time. Man, how am I?
You haven't even won a doubles with him yet, have you?
Chopped liver. No, he's thrown me to the curb.
I don't know what the rules are, because there's some weird rules about, like, depending on which type of member guest it is. Like, sometimes if you've won a certain amount of titles.
Yeah, I don't know. I most likely am going to go up to Kansas and watch Ryan Bowl this weekend, actually, is the plan. So it's not in stone, but pretty good chance. So, well, there you go. Polly Walnuts.
Honestly, our fantasy football league, like, everybody's so passive aggressive, and it always ends up going through me. So our friend Paulie just messaged me. He goes, "Can you check the fantasy football schedule? It says I have a bye this week." I looked it up. He's playing Tina. Hasn't got the stones to send that to her.
Well, yeah, I don't have her number. I would much rather have sent that a nice little wake up text this morning of good run.
Yeah.
So scored 184 and a tad short.
Yeah, it was 184.78 to 186 even, Tina against Chris. For reference and points totals, I believe I had the next highest total in the whole league this week at 150. They both have the highest total of the season, I think.
Oh, yeah. I mean, 140 is almost a shoe-in to win most weeks with our system, which is relatively high, but yeah.
We have two quarterbacks, so that kind of makes it.
But yeah.
And no kickers.
My best week by miles, and I was sweating the last play.
So. Yeah, it literally did go down to Monday Night Football and Ramondre Stevenson. So, yeah. Have we got a late entry here for a team?
Yeah. That's I'm gonna have to check in and see what's going on this weekend.
Full field. Oh shit! So yeah, I'm on with my friend Brian. Looking forward to it. It's nice. He's going to drive me. I'm going to be driven, so I don't have to worry about like sitting in the car for another 3,000 miles. It feels like Houston's not that bad though. So
yeah, we talked about this a little bit earlier. I'll put the link down at the bottom.
One thing I will say, I'll be interested to see who the PBA get to help run this, because a tournament of that size is not particularly
It's
a
a difficult
picnic in
thing to
the
run.
park.
It's a big deal. So
So shout out to USBC for all the years that they've ran theirs, and I'm sure that there's going to be growing pains for the PBA in running theirs, because you just
you don't know what you don't know yet.
Yeah. So
But,
hopefully they recruit somebody who's worked the USBC tournaments to help them out, because there isn't really a comparable, like, I guess maybe the Wisconsin State tournament's pretty big as well. So maybe they're in the right part of the country for people who understand stuff like that. But still, it'll be very interesting to see what they do, what works, what doesn't. And
and to be fair, our favorite phrase, as much as it's easy to take shots about the USBC tournament, the fact that it runs fairly seamlessly, not always. Now that they're hiring temporary staff, some of the ball stuff's been a mess here as of late. But for the most part, I mean, the tournament runs very clean and has for a long time. And
and I mean, the bracket process now is like fantastic.
Like, there's only one way to handle this, and that you throw them out like a drunk patron in a bar that wanted to fight. Yes, but the easy slide should never be seen on a shoe ever. End a career when you're my age. So
it was funny they were talking about this. I guess they were talking like in the rules, it's only illegal if it comes off your shoe.
Those are absurd. People say it's not illegal unless somebody complains. Technically, yes.
But what I'm saying is I think that means that some of those products, because I never really thought about it in that way. So some of those products, like what's the little blocks that you can get that you can rub on the bottom of your shoe?
The soapstone?
Yeah, soapstone. In my mind, I always thought it was illegal to put anything on your shoe. But I guess if that substance doesn't come off, it's not illegal. So something like soapstone, where it doesn't come off, is actually fine for use.
Yeah, soapstone is actually that's basically New Age ashes, which is what I was taught to use when I was a little boy.
Yeah,
cigarette ash. Quite fine.
It's literally the only downer of people not being able to smoke in buildings.
Yeah, that's probably true. Sorry, I didn't spell tournament right there, so don't.
Hey.
Yeah.
Are we close to getting a new schedule? Well, we're closer.
I believe we are exceptionally close. So, but until contracts and signed and everything's crossed and dotted.
No, not really. No. I mean,
ironically, the one ball that we were missing in 15 pounds might have been this fate, because we didn't have a lot of numbers in that range. In 16, the night roads fit in there. So
I feel like, although it doesn't ever sell, I feel like we're missing a hierarchy solid ball. I'm just saying, I've used those balls in the past, like the Victory Road, the Torrent. A few of those balls have been quite useful for me. I'm not saying that they're particularly, that they never stay in the line because they don't sell. But I find those solid balls sometimes a little bit kind of useful. Like the Rocket was another one that was not bad. Or whatever the purple and blue Rocket was. It wasn't called the Rocket. It was called something else. But yeah. Thanks. So anyway, I have to get going.
Okay.
My son is off for a school trip to the bowling center. So I'm going to go over and shout at his teachers when they let them put their hands near the ball return and, all of those things. The Skyrocket was the pearl blue and one. I was talking about the purple one. Wasn't the skyrocket. So yeah, so that's what I'm gonna do. So hopefully it's a good time, and yeah, we will.
Well, good deal. So we're going to cut this off a little early today,
Thursday.
and we'll be back on Thursday, and with a surprise guest, which might be including us at this point. So, but until then, hey, thanks again for joining us, and we'll look forward to seeing you on Thursday. If you get a choice, please support the sponsors that support us: Storm, Rotogrip, Niner Global, Coolwick, Bowlers Mart, Fire Lake Bowling Center, Lightning Strikes, and Platinum Ford. Until next time, stay safe, stay healthy. God bless.
See you guys later.